I am Seth Grantley, and welcome to the GKT Community Podcast, a podcast where we meet one of the inspirational people who share their knowledge and lived experience on globalknowledgetransfer.com. Welcome to the podcast, Margie.
Yeah, great to be here with you, Seth.
When you're at school, what did you want to be?
Honestly, I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be Madonna. I was in a choir and I was asked to leave the choir. That was a bit upsetting. I don't know if that was because I couldn't sing or not. I ended up going into acting instead. I was in a youth theatre when I was a teenager.
And if you could go back now with all of your experience and give advice to yourself in Year 12, what would you say?
Don't sweat the small stuff. Nothing is as bad as it seems. You focus more on the big picture because there's a lot of stuff along the way that probably doesn't matter.
That passion for acting and singing, how has that benefited you in your career?
It's definitely helped me with confidence because I'm naturally an introvert and I didn't realise that until much later in life. I went and studied acting in film and television while I was building a professional career doing other things. Where it's helped me longer term is I do a bit of speaking on the topics that I'm passionate about around leadership, wellbeing and performance. And it's helped me with that immensely because I know how to engage with an audience. I've been trained, I suppose, from that perspective.
Talk to me about what you are doing now. What else is in your repertoire of career choices?
I've had a few careers, but for the last 20 years, I've helped people in their professional pursuits, particularly at a senior level. And that started off in executive recruitment. Then in the last 15 years, I became a registered psychologist, staying in the lane of workplace wellbeing, particularly leadership wellbeing. I found my calling later in life, not to say that the other jobs I had I didn't enjoy, but I really feel this is what I was meant to do. I love helping executives and leaders perform better, have better wellbeing, because if leaders are happier and healthier, it has a great knock-on effect to all of us.
Could you talk about your career highlights and how they've shaped where you are today?
So my first job while I was studying acting was working in IT. I was 19 and I didn't go to uni straight after school. I didn't think I was smart enough for uni at the time. I ended up working for this small R&D company who exploded overnight, and I ended up working in Silicon Valley at the age of 19, 20, just before Windows came out. So I'm showing my age there. I worked very hard and I stayed in that industry for about 10 years. And I got lots of great experiences working in the US, but also traveling to Asia, developing distributor relationships. That was pretty exciting. Later, it was ending in an executive career myself when I transitioned into recruitment. That started with IT recruitment because I'd been working in IT for 12 years. And then I was put into an executive position in a national organisation. That was good too because I learned a lot about leadership. I had some good experiences leading and some not so good. Yeah, it's all helped along the way.
What would you say your key success factors are and why?
Grit and determination. I get that from my grandmother and my mother, just that sort of determination to achieve and do well. I've always had a natural curiosity for people and learning.
You have often talked about values. What are your values and how do they translate into your day-to-day?
I've got a really strong value around helping others, which is helpful given the work I do. I've got a belief that most people want to achieve their potential, that most of us do want to grow, be better. It's important to me to do that myself and have those kind of honest conversations with myself around if I'm really acting and behaving in a way that's going to help me reach my potential so that I can help others. A few years ago, I realised that I was doing some things that weren't. One of them was alcohol. I felt like that had become a bit of a parachute for a bad week or a bad day. I was embarking on a business and a career and helping leaders navigate stress and well-being better. I thought, I don't know if I'm acting my values. So I decided to have a break from it. And I think this year it's been 8 years of not drinking. So that's not for everyone, but for me, that became an important value of really walking my talk, basically.
You're very successful, and a lot of that comes from the courage that you've displayed along your journey. One of those big moments was stepping out of corporate, going back to study and starting your own business. Talk to me about how challenging that was and what mechanisms you put in place to support yourself to make that transition.
It was a difficult decision because of the security around being in a job in a corporate environment. It ended up being a bit easier than I thought. It was a mindset thing. It was the fear. Once I got over that and started doing it, it was a lot easier than I thought.
We're all influenced by people along our journeys. Could you think back to one or two key people who've really had an impact and influence on you, and talk to us about them and why that was so impactful and what they did?
I referred to my grandmother earlier, and the reason she's been a bit of a mentor for me is she raised 6 kids on her own. She had breast cancer later in her life, and she just had this attitude of just not giving up. She was never a victim to her situation, and she had good reason to be for what she had to go through. It's not a conscious thing, but I sort of sometimes think of the fact that she just got on with it. And I feel like I've got some of that gene in me. Thank you, Grandma. From a professional perspective, there's been someone who built quite a successful coaching business. And in a way, they could have seen me as being a competitor coming through the ranks, but they were so helpful and they just didn't see it that way. So having that sort of mentor provide unconditional ideas and support, it was really helpful. I've had sort of random people, probably better known people like, Brene Brown. She's the echelon of the kind of work I do. And I love, watching her and listening to her. And I find her very authentic and she loves the research, and I do too.
You're involved with global knowledge transfer. You're a coach already. Why have you taken up coaching and psychology? Do you get out of it, and what do you hope others will get out of your involvement in that industry?
As I was turning 40, I come out of an unsuccessful journey of trying to be a parent through IVF. My marriage ended, and so I was looking at the second half of my life, wondering what my contribution was going to be because I wasn't going to have kids. I was really curious about why people left a job and why they stayed in a job. And a good friend of mine had enrolled in an undergrad in psychology, and I thought, you know what, it'd be pretty interesting to do a deeper dive into that. I didn't think I was smart enough to get into uni. Anyway, I got in and I got better as I went along, and I ended up getting into an honours program, still pinching myself over that. As I started to go through that journey, I just developed this really deep interest into people's motivations around their professional pursuits and what could help them be more effective. As a psychologist, when I'm working in a coaching environment, I have that training to also understand, are there some other factors going on here? Are there some underlying things, patterns, behaviours that have been imprinted that are blocking that person from whatever it is they're trying to achieve? And so I can safely then help them with that. There's lots of coaches out there. There's a lot less coaches out there that are also trained as a psychologist. I like to think that I'm unique in bringing those two things together because I've also had those 30 years in that commercial environment as well. My earlier career was in leadership and commerce, and now it's with the science, and I'm bringing those two together to help leaders and help professionals be happier and healthier in their career.
I'm not surprised that you've excelled in whatever you've chosen to pursue in terms of the honour. What are the key areas that you focus on with your coaching? You don't coach everyone. Who do you target, and what are the key things you're addressing with those people that are really your niche?
Thank you. And thank you for saying that about me. I appreciate that. I really like helping leaders, people in a leadership position, probably more that middle to executive level, and particularly leaders that are experiencing a lot of stress and who are burnt out. I've been doing a lot in the media over the last 12 months about burnout. And it's not just that a throwaway line about feeling a bit tired. There's actually a condition a lot of leaders are experiencing, particularly after coming out of the pandemic. And leaders also too that perhaps have had some unexpected feedback from their employer and they're trying to navigate that and not sure what to do about it. Maybe they were quite surprised about it and need some help with that. And then leaders too that are actually doing quite well in their field but want to elevate to that next level. They're looking to step up into an executive or CEO position and are just a bit stuck. And then thirdly, women in leadership. Doing my thesis in leadership wellbeing when I did my honours program, I was able to do a lot of gender difference research. And having been a female leader in a couple of male-dominated industries, I have some personal experience. I'm very good at helping women who are wanting to, progress their leadership career.
What a wonderful role model you make as well in that space.
Thank you.
If you could have 1 hour with any 1, 2 or 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Brené Brown, because she's a mentor. He'd be really interesting. And this is because of the psychology around how they think and their behaviour. But Elon Musk, I don't know if I agree with some of the stuff he says and does, but I'd be really interested in getting a better understanding about what's actually going on in there. That's the psychologist in me. And you know what? I reckon it'd be a bit of a laugh to hang out with Mick Jagger for an hour. How have you managed to survive all this time? That determination and that grit and that able to just keep going. Like, what's your secret, mate? So there's an eclectic group for you.
The rock star in you hasn't died.
Indeed.
Thank you for being on the podcast with us, Margie. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
That is all we have time for today. Thanks to our guest and our sponsor, globalknowledgetransfer.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you can be sure to meet more inspirational individuals from the Global Knowledge Transfer community in future episodes.